Good evening. This is Mayor Tammy, and we are live on our first ever telephone town hall meeting. We so appreciate that you are joining us for this phone call and helping us by participating in our comprehensive plan update. Your voice is important to us. We had residents proactively sign up for this phone call in addition to the residents that have accepted our call. And I just want to tell you how much we appreciate that. I hope you are somewhere comfortable, and let's get started. So with me today
is Caleb Hood, the Planning Division Manager for the City of Meridian.
So we just want to first tell you what to expect during this phone call. We'll share information about the city's current effort related to our comprehensive plan. Our comprehensive plan is our vision document for our city for the next 10 to 20 years. We will be asking you to participate by using your phone's keypad on some polls that we will be taking throughout this phone call. And this, we hope, will be a forum for residents to ask questions. So we have blocked up to an hour, and it will go as long as you have questions after the information that we share.
So thank you again for joining us on this call. We would ask that you stay on the line. We will be listening for your questions and responding to you. Please use your keypad on your phone to ask questions. In fact, we're going to ask you to press the star button when you have a question, and there will be people on the line that can take your question and get you in the queue. We're going to start off with a practice question now. The first question is, where do you live in Meridian? Please press 1 for Northeast, 2 for Northwest, 3 for Downtown or Central Meridian, and 4 for South Meridian. Again, the first question is, where do you live? 1 would be Northeast Meridian, press 2 for Northwest, 3 for Downtown, 4 for South Meridian.
So while you're doing that, I just want you to bear in mind this is our first town hall meeting. So Caleb and I haven't been telephone or radio hosts, so bear with us. We're going to have fun with it. If we consider that since 2011, 30% of our community wasn't here when we last updated our plan, I think it really emphasized the importance and accelerated the attempt to update this. Our council was on board completely on that and gave us the funding to move forward with this. We believe that it's imperative that we continue to grow responsibly, and that takes careful planning. The way we have grown up to this time is that we have grown per our plan. The comprehensive plan, as I said earlier, does serve as a policy document containing a vision for the future growth and development of our city of Meridian. It is the what, where, why, and even the when for how the city should grow. So our strategic growth goal is bringing family wage jobs closer to where people live. And 15.6% of the job growth actually has happened since between 2015 and 2016. We do rely on our partners to provide critical services in addition to the planning we do on land use and our economic development. But our partners, they provide services like our roads, our sidewalks, our schools, and public transportation. And these are the services I tend to get the most concerns about. So we would love you to help us craft a plan that continues to move Meridian forward, one that is in line with your vision to be the West premier community in which to live, work, and raise a family. So I do want to again encourage people to press the star button on your phone if you have a question.
Well, thanks, Mayor. It sounds like you should be a planner with all that comprehensive plan talk there. I do want to just clarify for folks, as you're looking for the star button on your keypad to ask those questions, just maybe a little bit on the difference between the comprehensive plan and zoning. So as a property is brought into the city, it's assigned a zoning code or a zoning designation. The comp plan is a guide for what zoning is appropriate on any individual property. It's not a blueprint for development, but it is a guide for that growth. So we use it to guide how properties should be developed over time. So if you have any questions about that relationship or how the comprehensive plan is used or its intent, please again press the star button on your keypad. The mayor mentioned it, but we try to update our comprehensive plan about every 10 years, but the rate of growth has just been so rapid since 2012, the last major update that we did. Again, the council said, you know, we need to go out and talk to the public and either reconfirm the direction the city's heading or look for a new direction, get some more guidance from the public. So that's largely what we're trying to get some feedback this evening from you all. What is your vision for our community? And we have a website too for the comprehensive plan project, www.meridiancity.org/comp-plan. So you can go there and check out that website as well. So I would encourage you to do that. We've been at Settlers Park, we've been at Hillsdale, we've done other town halls where this has been a topic. Have you participated yet in one of the surveys or activities at an event related to the comp plan? That's 1 for yes and 2 for no. It's okay if this is the first time you're hearing about the project, that's totally acceptable. Just want to know again how much information as baseline maybe we need to share with folks that are on the line.
And really, that is why we're doing this telephone town hall, is to reach as many people in our community to participate, because it's important to us that we hear from as many of our residents as we can. I think, Caleb, you were even at the Youth Safety Summit
Yes.
last week, pulling our teenagers.
Yes, at Wahoo's last week there was a Youth Safety Summit and got to connect with some teenagers, so that was pretty exciting. So it looks like the people that have responded so far, over 90% actually have not heard about the comprehensive plan or participated yet in the survey. So this is a great opportunity to reach some folks that haven't yet heard about this project. So that's very exciting.
Shirley, this is Mayor Tammy. You're live on our telephone town hall. We think. But if you're not...
I'd certainly like to...
Oh, yes.
I was wondering, a person would mail me something from Meridian to me, and it would take 5 days to get to me?
Wow. Yes, I do know that our post office is very busy and they are almost out of room. We have been in contact with our congressional delegation to help us be a voice at the federal level to advocate for a second post office. I know our post office carriers are out of space in their sorting facility and that. So stay tuned. We are working with them on that. Thank you, Shirley. Okay, I would like to mention on this comprehensive plan, it is anticipated to be an 18 to 24 month process. And that is how I got involved and actually when I first was on city council, we were doing a major rework of our land use map, and that was adopted in 2002. So it's exciting for me to see this major update and get a chance to hear from our residents on their vision moving forward.
Yeah, so we're going to transition, I think, a little bit into growth, and I don't think it's a surprise to anybody that's been here for any amount of time that the community has changed since 2002 when a lot of the policies in the current comp plan were adopted. Meridian's going to continue to grow. That is the reality of things, but we can do it better. We can continue to change and grow. We want to get some feedback from you on maybe some ways in which we can grow and develop to be that premier city in the West. So again, if you have any questions that way, if you can press the star button, we have some folks that are standing by and can get you in a queue to ask questions on any questions related to growth. Is the current rate of growth acceptable? Please press 1 for yes, 2 for no, or 3, I don't know or don't have a preference. So again, we want to hear from you. Meridian is growing pretty rapidly. Is the current rate of growth acceptable? 1 for yes, 2 for no, or 3 for I don't know.
And Caleb, I think it's important to remember, you know, we're blessed and cursed with the central location in the Treasure Valley, and all traffic runs through us. So whether we're growing or the area around us is growing, we still host many of their cars. So one of the goals in the comprehensive plan update is to bring jobs and services closer to where people live. We hope to capture those trips so they don't continue to go through us, because you'll never grow yourself out of congestion, will you?
No, that's correct, Mayor. Yeah, we want to have good land use planning, and again, that's at the heart of the comprehensive plan is land use and transportation working together to get people close to jobs, living close to where they work, play. Okay, and so answers then to poll question 3, current rate of growth acceptable. We had 32% of those on the line say it's acceptable, the current rate of growth. 44% say no, and the remainder percentage are I don't know.
She says the traffic is heavy due to development. Why hasn't the city planned infrastructure better?
No, it's a good question. That ties right into the background context with the Ada County Highway District and us working with them. What the reality is Meridian is not just Meridian, but our valley is growing in all directions kind of simultaneously. So we are providing the infrastructure, but we can't provide it in all directions at the same time. We do have budgets and priorities, and we're getting to providing some of that infrastructure concurrently with most of the development that's going on. But the harsh reality is we are behind in some of that infrastructure.
Well, the infrastructure that the city provides, the sewer, water, is adequate. We are ahead of growth. It's the roads that Ada County Highway District and the Idaho Transportation Department are limited by what they can do, both in how many roads can you do at one time. We think sometimes it seems like they do all of them at the same time. But there is limited funds, and they continue to look for additional funding sources. In addition to that, we don't just accommodate Meridian's traffic. We accommodate the traffic of the Treasure Valley because of our central location. So you're not just experiencing Meridian's cars, you're experiencing everyone's cars.
And if I can just say, I know we had questions, a couple different people had questions on that. That was a question that Lori had regarding ACHD, as well as Dean. So we'll go ahead and move on to other questions, but those were both about ACHD.
Yeah, and I will just point out before we move on to the next poll question that's coming up here. We have asked the Ada County Highway District and ITD and some of those agency partners to come along with us in the development of this new comprehensive plan. So again, that's very important that all service providers are part of this project, the comprehensive plan, so that we can be a full service city that meets the needs and expectations of its residents.
David, what is your question?
Sure. I'm wondering, after this process has been followed through and you have a new comprehensive plan, how faithful is the city committed to be adhering to the new comprehensive plan? It seems like something that's going to be a good thing, but it'll only be a good thing if it's committed to once it's finished. And just to add, we've seen so many discussions lately on various ways to change the existing comprehensive plan with each proposed development or proposed project. So I'm wondering, once this is done, will the city have something to fall back on and just say, well, this was our intention and we're going to stick to it?
David, that is a great question, and probably one that I should field instead of Caleb as the elected official. Although I don't have a vote, our city council has in our discussion is updating our comprehensive plan. They want a plan that they can adhere to. The current plan is 20 years old, and less than 20 years old, but it is outdated. And so as we work with our residents, as we listen to your voices, as we adopt a new plan, we fully intend to adhere to that and work with the community the property owners, the development community and the building community to achieve the vision that our residents are participating in setting.
It's very good, Mayor. I guess I would just say that, like the Mayor just mentioned, we want to make this plan something that people are proud of and can defend, and we're going to hold a high bar going forward to anyone that wants to propose changes to it. There has to be some significant justification if there's going to be an amendment to the plan going forward, because we are putting forth a lot of effort, both on the city side as well as its resident side, to come up with this vision for who we want to be as a community going forward. But excellent question. Poll question 4. To meet the premier expectations, what part of growth is impacting the quality of life in Meridian the most? Press 1 for school capacity, 2 for roads and traffic concerns, or 3, safety emergency service.
So I guess we'll just restate the question one more time and then we'll close that out. It's to meet the premier expectations, what part of growth is impacting your quality of life in Meridian the most? 1, schools and capacity, 2, roads and traffic, or 3, safety and emergency service.
And it looks like right now there's some 85% of people that are saying roads and traffic are their biggest concerns or the biggest hiccup to really fully enjoying our community right now, with schools and capacity being at 13%.
Well, and I certainly noticed a difference once school started with the traffic.
On the roads, yeah.
Yeah, that was unbelievable.
All right, thank you all for participating in that poll question.
We think we have you on the line. Allison, are you there? Well, I think we lost her.
So if you have any other questions about transportation.
Well, Allison's question is, what is the future of public transportation in Meridian?
That's a great question. I don't have that crystal ball necessarily. It is something that is being talked about, though, as part of development of the comprehensive plan, and a lot of feedback that I'm receiving, and as well as other staff here at the city are hearing about the need for transportation, public transportation in Meridian. So, and that actually segues into something I was going to talk about, just based on, again, some 85% of those on the line saying that their concerns are for roadways and traffic capacities. You know, Meridian is the largest city in Idaho without a fixed route bus system. The main reason for that is that the state does not allow any funding for public transportation to be self-imposed. So we don't have any ways to fund that bus service, i.e. taxes or like a local option tax or something to that effect. We're one of only 2 states in the nation where we can't pay for that through a separate taxing entity. Any funding, therefore, then would need to be paid for through the city's general funds. So you're competing with new fire trucks and police officers and park space when you talk about providing public transportation. And so far, that hasn't risen to a high enough need in our community to say, no, we aren't going to build that fire station or hire those new detectives or whatever the case may be.
But we do have some committed general funds for the commuter routes and for Harvest Transit, which helps our senior and disabled community. Other cities throughout the state of Idaho use road dollars that currently go to Ada County Highway District. They collect the road dollars that would traditionally go to us if we provided our own road infrastructure, and it would be at that time that the council could make the decision on how to allocate some of those funds.
That's a good point, Mayor. I will also just say we're planning for the future, working with Valley Regional Transit. I don't think they've come up yet in this discussion, but VRT is charged with providing the public transportation in our area. So we are planning with them for...
But they don't have a funding mechanism,
yes,
right? For
those eventual bus lines in Meridian. So when we get those, the ability to pay for it, I think we will have a more robust public transportation system in Meridian.
And we had the same question from Ferris. So Ferris, thank you for submitting that question.
So I think we're going to move on to poll question 5 then. Here's the question. Would you support an increase to your taxes to establish and operate a bus system? 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 for I don't know. So we're really asking that same question about, would you be willing to pay more? Would you support an increase to your taxes to establish and operate a public transportation bus system? 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 for I don't know.
We are not allowed local option authority, which would come out as sales tax, which would then be supported from those that use the roads. But at this point in the state of Idaho, we do not have that tool in our toolbox. So the only tool we would have is with our property taxes. So again, we'll ask the poll question one more time. Would you support an increase to your taxes to establish and operate a bus system? 1, yes, 2, no, or 3, I don't know.
So it looks like the results are largely in now with 54% stating no, they would not support an increase to taxes to support that, and 21% saying yes they would, 24% saying they don't know. So about half, a little over half of the people on the line say no, they would not support an increase to taxes to pay for that bus service, and about a quarter each then saying that they would or don't know. So we have a follow-up question then on the line.
With Bob.
Is the city talking to the legislature about legislation for a local option tax?
Yes, Bob, that's a great question. We've been working with the state legislature as long as I've been mayor, and that's 15 years. Not only the city of Meridian, but the Association of Idaho Cities, other cities across the state would recognize that they need funding tools for public transportation and for road infrastructure for that matter. So we don't have that tool, and certainly if our citizens are interested in that kind of a tool, their voice needs to join ours. And again, that would just be giving us the authority to even come out and ask the voters what they think. And you would have to come forward with a plan. So there's many steps before you would ever get there, but the first part of that is to have the authorizing legislation.
Great question, Bob. Thank you. We're going to move on to poll question 6, and we're going to stay in the transportation realm. Again, as the mayor mentioned in the outset, that's something that I hear about, and I know she does a lot about the transportation concerns. So poll question 6 is, what is more important to you and your mobility needs? Press 1 if it's pathways or sidewalks, or 2, public transit, so buses. What's more important to you and your mobility needs? Pathways and sidewalks is 1, or press 2 if it's public transit. These certainly aren't the only 2 mobility options that are out there, but these are the 2 most that I hear from people. They either can't walk to get somewhere because there's gaps in sidewalks, or the pathway network doesn't connect somewhere, or again the lack of a fixed route bus public transit system in Meridian. So what's more important to you? What should we work on harder? Should we work on making sure there's more pathways or sidewalk connections? If you believe that to be true, press 1, or 2 for public transit, buses.
Well, it looks like overwhelmingly pathways and sidewalks at 75% is taking the lead.
Very interesting.
Yes. Yeah. And as a user, and my husband's from the Netherlands, where you can do everything off street, great connectivity. It's something that we have always been very interested in.
There seems to be, we like roads being widened to handle the capacity of the traffic. For example, I see Franklin is being widened, and it looks like they're going to widen it all the way to Napa, which will be an improvement on that process. USTIC has been widened up to Meridian from the east.
Yeah, now to Linder, huh?
From there west, it's 2 lane, and then the other thing is for example, 2026, or Chinden, there seems to be the housing areas that access that. I would think that would be somewhat a limited access, and they seem to get a priority for when they pull up to the stoplight, the traffic shuts down on that major thoroughfare instead of the major thoroughfare having some proper priority and the side traffic either choosing to turn right, which they can do fairly easy, instead of shutting down that major thoroughfare.
Yeah, Ray, that's a good observation and a good question that I get asked about a lot is signal prioritization and priority to side streets. And certainly Chinden in that example is the main thoroughfare there. Some of the side streets that lead into the Paramount subdivisions and the Tree Farm subdivisions, the Spurwing subdivisions, they shouldn't be having as much green time, if you will, as Chinden. But I would encourage you or others that observe those types of things to go ahead and contact myself or Ada County Highway District and talk to them if there are concerns, because sometimes those signals do act up and maybe there is more green time being allocated to the side roads than necessary. So it's a good observation on your part. Thank you for the call. If you have any ideas about the rail corridor or anything else for that matter, go ahead and press star on your telephone keypad, and there are folks standing by that can get you in the queue to ask your question. But the rail corridor historically has been used as a freight corridor, and it's a great asset. Don't get me wrong, the freight and the jobs and moving the goods and services through that corridor has been great, and it's quite frankly underutilized right now, though. It goes, for those of you that haven't really recognized it connects Caldwell, Nampa, Meridian to Boise, and it hits the downtowns of Nampa, Boise, and Meridian. So it's a great corridor, and there's opportunity there for connecting our communities. We have a question for you, though. It's poll question 7. If available, would you use the rail corridor for transportation? So not just freight, but for transportation. If you would use the rail corridor for transportation, please press 1 for yes, 2 for no, or 3 for I don't know.
And that would be for pedestrian, bicycle, or maybe even buses.
Yeah, again, the mayor and I have been talking with others for quite some time about how we could use the rail corridor for what mode of transportation. You could run buses along it. You could run more light rail. You could do, a green belt type of a pathway for recreating or commuting, riding your bike.
Or maybe a brown belt.
Brown belt, there you go. So if available, would you use the rail corridor for transportation? Please press 1 for yes, 2 for no, or 3 for I don't know. The rail corridor. So the early results show about 55 to 60% folks also see this as a potential asset, transportation corridor for the public to use, along with freight. We certainly would want freight to continue in the corridor, and we think they can coexist safely and efficiently for several years. So we want to make sure that it's something that if we continue to work on it, it's something that you all would use if we build it.
And if we can convince the railroad to partner with us, right?
So we're going to go ahead and close that poll question. I have a follow-up question, though, just based on those answers. Again, about 55, 56% of people on the line said you would use the rail corridor for transportation. So this is the second part of that question, then, essentially. How would you use it? Would you use it? 1, press 1 on your phone for recreation. 2, if you'd use it for commuting, for example, to or from work. 3, both. You would use it for both recreation and commuting, plus press 3 on your phone. Or 4, neither. You wouldn't use it. So again, if something were built in the rail corridor, how would you use it? Would you use it for recreation? Press 1. Commuting to and from work? Press 2. Both, commuting and recreation? Press 3. Or 4, neither. I know I would use it, not only because I work at City Hall, which is adjacent to the rail corridor, but it connects to many places. And quite honestly, I see other people when I'm at City Hall or coming out of City Hall using the rail corridor currently.
It would connect downtown to the 10-mile area that starting to get some energy and excitement in businesses and certainly employers out there. And it would also connect 10 Mile to downtown to Eagle Road, where you have the Sensi campus, the Blue Cross campus, you have the village just within half a mile from it. So it's very centrally located.
Yeah, and it looks like most of the people on the line would agree that they see the value in a potential rail corridor as an asset, and it looks like 38% of folks would use it for recreating, so again, like a brown belt. 6% would use it for commuting to and from work. 36%, I think that's interesting, that 36% of folks think that they would use it for both commuting to and from work as well as recreating. So
that's a protected pathway that would get you from Nampa to Boise.
And this is pretty consistent with the previous question. There's about 20% of you that wouldn't use it for either one. So you didn't envision using the rail corridor for transportation anyway. So that's kind of an affirmation that some people just won't use it, which is understandable, right?
Yeah, and since we did mention downtown as one of those connecting points, I would like to spend a moment on talking about downtown because it does remain a priority. We have exciting plans for our former City Hall building. We just had set it out with an RFP and selected a project, and that is moving through the process of working with our Downtown Urban Renewal District, the Meridian Development Corporation, and formalizing the land transfer and the identified price. And we're excited to work with the developer, the visionary of this process, that is a big downtown fan. He's been on our Historical Preservation Commission. He already owns several buildings, and they have big plans in place. So there are other projects moving forward, but as I talk about those, let's ask poll question number 9. Which of the following projects would you like to see located in our downtown? 1, a conference facility. 2, a performing arts center. 3, both. Or 4, neither. And again, which of the following projects would you like to see located in our downtown? 1, conference facility. 2, performing arts center. 3, both. Or 4, neither. And I guess when you think about having that amenity like the convention center down in downtown Boise, that's paid through an auditorium district, which is funded through a bed tax. And that bed tax is 5% surcharge on our hotel rooms. As people rent them, they pay 5% or around $5 to help pay for that conference facility. So certainly an auditorium district would have to be formed first. But that could help bring some of these amenities to our downtown. So the survey results, conference facility 9%, performing arts 28%, both at
49, 48, 49, yep.
Yeah, 49%, or neither is at 16%. So we do, again, kind of like the public transportation, you would need a funding mechanism for it, and that is currently being led by the Meridian Chamber of Commerce on exploring what opportunities for an auditorium district, and if that's something our citizens are interested in.
John, are you on the line? Go ahead with your question.
Hi, John.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, what is your question?
Oh, fantastic. All right. So my wife and I had a question about kind of how the plans for parking are put together for a lot of these new businesses that we've seen getting built, and apartment complexes too. And in particular with apartment complexes, it seems there's been a under parking situation going on in a number of them, where we see a lot of spillover of vehicles into kind of public streets. And I'm just wondering if this is a concern that's being thought about in future planning.
Yeah, John, it's a great question. It is something we're talking about. That's actually part of our city code, though, not so much the comprehensive plan, what we're really talking about more tonight. But they do go hand in hand, and they are related. One does inform the other. It's a good observation, and again, one that we hear from folks in the community, as well as people that are trying to drive fire trucks, for example, through these apartment complexes. People will park
trucks.
or garbage trucks,
Yeah.
larger vehicles. Have been some issues. We do have standards for parking requirements for apartments as well as all other land uses, and those are in our what we call the Unified Development Code. We're looking at revamping that and changing that. We do have, it's largely based on how many bedrooms per unit, how many parking stalls you need to have, but we realize when there's a Super Bowl event or something like that, that parking does become an issue. So we're looking at requiring more guest parking with these. So yes, it is definitely something that city staff is working on, and will be bringing something before the city council here in the near future.
Well, and I think that's an area that city council has identified what we would like to have a conversation about the code and if it's adequate.
We're going to go live with Shirley. Shirley, are you there?
Shirley, are you on the phone? Hi. Go ahead with your question.
Are we ever going to have our own court system?
Well,
we pay Boise now, right?
We will not have a court system. The state legislature did pass some legislation that created additional funding mechanism for courtrooms. They have really designed the court system to be a centralized system that works all together, and it finds better economies of scale. It's more efficient. If you look in Ada County alone, and a statistic that Caleb had mentioned earlier, where 60% of our traffic tickets are not Meridian residents. So let's say you're a Boise resident, you get a ticket in Meridian. Where do you go to court? Do you go to court in Boise or in Meridian? Or maybe you're a Garden City resident. So that centralized court system in Boise, it offers one place to go and takes away those questions. Where the county that you get your ticket in is the county courthouse, you will go and defend it.
Thank you, Mayor. I think we're going to go rapid fire here with these questions for people that have been waiting on the line. Looks like we have Lynette. Lynette, are you on the line?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I had just wondered about the zoning. If the Meridian City had a capacity to change zoning to slow down the growth a little bit until the infrastructure caught up, and so that because it seems like because the apartments are so many, they bring more in the density, so there's more people per unit and per area getting on our streets. And I'm just wondering if we could slow that down a little bit for a little while until Ada County, until the Ada Highway District caught up with our street situation.
Lynette, that's a great question, and it's one that is really at the heart of our comprehensive plan. One of the tools within the comprehensive plan is what we call the future land use map. And that's where we call for residential densities of certain varieties. So we have 5 or 6 different designations, everything from rural estate density to high density and everything in between. So now is really a good time to have your voice be heard. In particular, if you have certain parts of town where you'd like to see lower densities or higher densities, maybe where the infrastructure does exist, it makes some sense to have higher density, but maybe where we aren't planning on widening the roads anytime in the near future, maybe that's where the lower density should go. So yeah, we do have tools in our toolbox to rezone properties appropriately and in accordance with the comprehensive plan. Again, the timing right now is great for any ideas you have or others have on where appropriate densities are throughout the city and our area of impact.
But once we come up with the plan, we want to stick to it. And again, I would stress that the traffic that we're experiencing, we could slow growth in Meridian, but growth is found in the Treasure Valley. And growth is occurring in all of our surrounding cities as well, which those cars travel through us. So With the growth, we do collect impact fees that help pay for those roads. We do believe the growth should help pay its share of the impact.
All right, we've got a couple questions on this next one, so we're going to go to Dr. Lindauer.
Dr. Yeah, thank you for joining us, Dr. Lindauer. What is your question?
My wife and I were wondering what the concern is with beginning the construction of the new Costco in Northwest Meridian.
Yeah, so maybe I'll start.
It's much more convenient for us to shop there than to go to either Nampa or Boise.
Well, Dr. Lindauer, thank you for the question. I'm surprised that you haven't been tracking this, because this has been a very hot topic in Meridian, and it seems like every other person I talk to wants to know when Costco is coming to town. So they are still working with a lot of the residents up in that area to finalize their design, and they will be back before the city council here in October with their final proposal on their actual building design and elevations. Also, there are some roadway improvements that they need to have done before they can open up the store. So they're working with the Idaho Transportation Department and the Ada County Highway District on designing and then constructing improvements along both 10 Mile Road and US 2026 Chinden Boulevard, because those transportation agencies have some requirements for capacity improvements before they can actually open the store. So I think they're still generally on track, but that's where they're at in the process right now, is getting their final approvals, and then they'll start working on some of the roadways and ultimately building their store. So it's coming.
I think the cool thing is the City of Meridian residents got to design their Costco store. And I don't know how many communities in the nation can say they engaged the community to make it their store.
And we had the same question from Mike, so thank you, Mike, for that question. Going back to transportation, so this is going to be Lori.
Go ahead, Lori, you're live.
Hi.
Hi, Lori.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I have a question. Where I'm from, we have ring roads. I know they're not always really popular because you have to annex a whole bunch of properties. They're not cheap. But considering 80 people a day are moving to the Treasure Valley, is what I've been told at the hospital with growth things, are we looking to work with Boise and Napa and Caldwell to develop any ring roads?
So it's a good question, Lori. I guess the blunt and quick answer is no, although there are some talks about a bypass south of Kuna, so you would basically bypass Boise, if you will, and it kind of creates what you're talking about, a ring road that are in some other metro areas. Here in the Treasure Valley, we're really set up more with the grid system, so every mile you have a major arterial, which is pretty rare in those other places that don't have those loop roads or the ring roads that kind of go around the communities and connect them. It has been something that's been talked about in the past, but it's not something we're actively talking about to build in the Treasure Valley with other communities. So yeah, no is the quick answer.
All right, staying with a similar topic and working with other cities, we have Mick on the line with a question.
Hi, Mick.
Hi, Mayor. Yeah, we've got a lot of competition in this valley for different projects, whether it be expansion at CWI or new facilities for library, schools needing expansions, and all of those are important things. But the traffic issue rises to the top, and the struggle for Meridian is that we're tied to whatever Ada County Highway is deciding is at the first thing to be done. And somehow, I mean, in an earlier question that was asked about if people are willing to pay more in taxes for buses. If we're going to move forward, one, we need a consensus on where we want to spend the money, and us taxpayers have to get behind that investment. And it's been a challenge. We've lived here in the valley for about 27 years, and just seeing the different bond issues floated and whatnot, and I get it. I mean, the taxpayers say, well, if I agree to this, where do things stop? And when you're in a high growth mode, unfortunately, it just continues to need more investment. So how do we get all of us together to communicate what the needs are and figure out how we want to fund it?
Well, that is a great question. We do have a transportation commission that focuses on the transportation elements that would include public transportation and roads. But you've mentioned some larger issues too in our schools and our community college and our libraries. They're all competing for dollars, and unfortunately, those dollars are all property tax dollars because that is the only funding tool the state has given local areas to do improvements. And until that tool chest is broadened, whether it's local option authority with local residents deciding on adding a half penny to sales tax, and it will depend on our property taxes because bonding and levies are one of the few tools. Although Ada County Highway District has something that is coming on the ballot, looking at registration fees where a user pays, and that would be used for transportation related topics like pathways, sidewalks, road expansions, and I do think that the community needs to be engaged, to join us at our town hall meetings, and let's bring our voices together and work with our legislature on tools.
I will just also say, from my point of view, we do work with other cities and coordinate with them. We do have, for example, we have joint service agreements for fire and police service, those types of things. So we do recognize that city limits and boundaries, you can't see them when you're walking or driving through a community, and there's overlap there. So we do coordinate to get the biggest bang for our buck a lot of times and make sure there isn't overlap in some of those services. For example, Eagle Road goes through 3 of the communities, right? Eagle, Meridian, and Boise. And so we are working with the city of Boise and through Compass, who is a regional organization that deals with these types of things and includes elected members from all the cities and the counties in Ada and Canyon County, to make sure that these high priority corridors are something we're jointly behind, again, recognizing and respecting that a lot of what we do is funded through user fees or tax based. So yeah, that coordination can always be improved, but we are talking and working with each other because ultimately we all share the roads and the air and everything else in the communities, and the city limit lines are somewhat imaginary.
So we have one more comment. This is in our chat room. How to preserve the small town feel of the city of Meridian, and that is something here in the city of Meridian that we work really hard on, is to keep that small town feel through events and activities and those kind of things. But also I know our other partners are doing the very same thing. From the library district, the Chamber of Commerce, all of our partners are working together to maintain that small town feel, because that is what makes us special, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And I am kind of biased. So I think that we're at the end of our call. We can answer a few more questions, I was just told. Robert, do you want to see who else has a question?
Yeah. We've had a couple people ask questions about apartments. So let's go ahead and go to a question to Jackie about apartments.
Hey, good evening. This is
Jackie.
a great idea you're having.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm concerned about every corner is building apartments, which of course is, giving us all this traffic. But on top of that, there are no jobs to support all these people that are coming in. So I don't even know where to go with that. But
Well,
we're just building.
Yeah, Jackie, it's a great question and one that we hear frequently these days, because generally our apartments have been part of, well, in particular up near the Paramount area, they were part of a planned community, and they were approved a number of years ago, and it's generally the last thing you see. And you see apartment dwellings coming up in a very tight market where housing can't be found. And we do have a tight market right now, and in both the single family housing and in apartments, they're both in demand, right, Caleb?
That's true, Mayor. Yeah, and I will just also add to that. I mean, it's largely market driven. There's a need for people to live somewhere, and apartments. If people weren't wanting to live in apartments, property owners, developers wouldn't be building apartments. I would also just add, and I don't know what, this is one of the questions we're contemplating right now as we're developing our comprehensive plan for the city. Where should apartments go? What is too much or not enough? There are differing opinions out there in different communities. There's not an adopted standard for how much of your housing stock should be apartments.
Well, and we've heard from our constituents that they want a preservation of open space and agricultural property. Well, if you only have single family housing and you don't have higher densities, you will have sprawl, and that is less efficient on infrastructure, including roads and services and supporting other types of commerce.
It's a good point, Mayor. You do want a mix of different housing types. We don't want, not everybody wants to live in an apartment. Not everybody wants 5 acres to maintain either. There's people that are in between, and we're trying to accommodate all those different lifestyles and people's needs that way. We are trying to provide that diversity in our housing stock. I will just, your comment though isn't lost, Jackie. It does seem like every corner there's apartments going up. Historically though, we haven't had a lot of apartments, and so we are somewhat catching up. We're getting to 15% or so of our housing stock being apartments. So we've lagged, and now we're really having an influx of apartments right now. So it's another good observation.
And they are filling up just as quickly. But great question.
And we're going to stay with apartments just for a second, because we've had a couple on this very specific question on apartments. So this is Ted. Are you on the line?
Yes, this is Ted. Can you hear me?
Hi, Ted. Yes, we can.
Hi. Yeah, my question was specifically about high-density housing in the corner of McMillan and Meridian. There's quite a few apartment buildings going up there, and I was just wondering what the plan is for that in terms of the future plan, the comprehensive plan, as far as the level of high-density housing. I was kind of quite surprised when I drove down that way, and I was amazed at how many buildings there were.
Right across the street from the school.
And it's right one of the schools, so
yeah, and
wondering.
Ted, that's a great question, and it's something I kind of mentioned earlier. That Paramount subdivision was a planned use or was a planned unit development at the time we had that classification, because this was done in the mid-2000s, and they developed almost the entire square mile. So as residents located in there, they had a vision of what that square mile would look like, and they did know that they were building next to apartments because it was required in their CCNRs. So that does have services closer to them, a school on site, and school just across the street in that walkable location.
Yeah, that's kind of their whole idea with that project. Again, as I was mentioning, different lifestyle choices for folks. If you go up closer to Chinden in that same planned unit development, Paramount, they're building the folks for retirees, and so you really are. They're offering different options with, again, the services that one would need to live, go to school, and play in. They've got their parks, elementary school, high school and a middle school right across Meridian Road. So it is planned community.
And that developer also put in a lot of that road infrastructure, in particular the intersection improvements in that area that other developments have actually taken advantage of with those being done by that development.
I will just also acknowledge, though, I mean, traffic is an issue, particularly up there. That's where that intersection received some improvement a handful of years ago, but there's been a lot of development, including those apartments that are just coming online, and so I know that traffic up in that area certainly is a concern. So we're trying to respond to that again with our transportation agency partners to see what we can do. To make it more efficient to traverse in that area.
Yes, thank you for that question.
Different topic, Sherry.
Okay, a different topic. Sherry, thank you for joining us.
Hello?
Hi, Sherry.
Hi. My question is, I live in Meridian down by Chinden, where I guess they're talking about those apartments, but I have noticed that since we've been in this area, we just don't have a lot of police presence, or a lot of what I like to call kids that drive very expensive cars and drive like crazy people. So there's points in the day that I just literally just do not go on the roads because I have been in multiple almost car crashes due to kids just not paying attention, and it does seem to be where the schools are. And I always ask, why is there not some type of police presence keeping an eye on this when school is, exiting? But I'm told they don't have the manpower. So I just don't know if that's something that they're going to add more police to protect us more. Because being it's the state where if I get in an accident, it's both faults on the insurance. I really don't want to be responsible for insurance hikes because some kid's not paying attention.
Well, it's a great question. We do have school resource officers at our high schools, and they help as the students come and go in the morning and in the afternoon. I sense that sometimes they are out there, and if you're not looking at the right time, you don't see them. But I could tell you that probably the students that are getting pulled over say, why do we have so many police officers on duty at the time? But we do have, again, it goes back to that density question. Do we want to sprawl? And with that sprawl, our police officers have a larger area that they need to patrol, and they're responsible for state highways. We're surrounded by state highways of Chinden, Eagle Road, Meridian Cuna Road, and Highway 16 and I-84, so we're surrounded on all sides. So our patrol officers are kept very busy. In addition, we do have neighbors that want our officers also in the neighborhoods. So we do try and find a balance. I agree with you that those high school areas are areas of concern as school is coming into session and once it ends. But we do the best we can, and we did authorize some new community officers that are going to also be additional resources.
Oh, are you there?
Yes. Hi, Barbara.
Hi. Well, all of these projects are really nice and all of that, but my biggest pet peeve is that the property owner is the one that has to foot the bill for everybody's project, and I'm all about common sense and raising the money first before spending because I don't want to see us go into debt.
Well,
also on that note, when they talk about taking away parking roadways for cars, when there's not as many bicycles or pedestrians, I don't know why pedestrians and bicycles can't share a sidewalk, because we've been doing that since I was a kid, and I'm 74 years old, and there was never any problem.
Well, thank you so much for your question. You have kind of two questions in terms of do developers really pay for growth? The city of Meridian has no debt. We are a save before you spend. And so as far as city services, we do have a capital improvement plan that is a 10-year vision. We also go out a little bit further, but we want to be fiscally responsible for your dollars. And I know that speaking on behalf of myself and our city council, we take that fiscal responsibility very serious. We do have tools that is provided by the state to collect impact fees. We do collect impact fees for parks, for fire, for police, for water and sewer services, as well. Ada County Highway District, ACHD, collects impact fees for the roads. Unfortunately, those impact fees are collected on a permit by permit basis, and so it will always be behind the growth because the tools that we have are only available as growth occurs, and it's hard to get in front of the curve. Caleb, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, the second question that Barbara that you had, I don't know that it's an either or when it comes to bikes or pedestrians and cars. We recognize we need to move motor vehicles, but we believe and have a philosophy of complete streets, so we can provide for all of mobility needs within that public right-of-way. So I don't think it's in lieu of providing lanes for cars or trucks, but it's bike lanes for bikes and sidewalks for pedestrians, folks that can't drive or won't drive, that can also get around and meet their mobility needs as well. So, there is some conflict out there. I won't disagree with that, but it's not an either or. We are trying to accommodate multiple modes within the public right-of-way system.
And Barbara, I agree with you, and we have had conversations with Ada County Highway District that does the complete road. I too think that pedestrians and bicycles should be in the same right-of-way. If we ever are going to be not dependent on our autos, we need to have our kids feel safe on the roadways and our families as well. On Pine Street, where you have cars, a bike lane, and parking, and then a sidewalk, that's a lot of conflict going on there. And when I bike to work, that's kind of scary, especially if someone's going to open their car door. As you're thinking, okay, I'm going to run into the car door, I'm going to run into the car, or what are my options, and what is going to be the least painful? So we continue to have those conversations with Ada County Highway District, and wherever possible, we are looking for those widened sidewalks where both pedestrians and bicycle facilities can coexist.
Multi-use, yes.
Multi-use.
As you all know, the growth of Meridian, I think most people are concerned about the traffic. And I remember reading that Meridian received a federal grant for a smart traffic light system. And I just wondered if you could speak to a little bit about that and when you were expecting for that to be completed.
Stephen, I appreciate the question. I'm not sure that Meridian received a grant. I am aware that the Ada County Highway District and ITD are looking at some what they call ITS systems, Intelligent Transportation Systems, and they're going to deploy some things on Eagle Road. So traffic, you want to talk about traffic and what we hear about, Eagle Road is certainly one of the corridors that gets a lot of concern. And so that grant that I believe you're referring to was not received by the city, but there is some money to retime the lights on Eagle Road. Previous caller mentioned some of the priority given to side streets. This will be, again, an intelligent transportation system where the light systems can sense how many cars are in a platoon and then have it go to the red signal and move more efficiently through the cross streets as well. I'm not the traffic engineer, so I'm not going to be able to fully explain that technology or what it is and does, but it's meant to, again, more efficiently move goods and services and people through the corridors. So I apologize that I can't answer that question fully, but I do look forward to seeing that implemented.
Well, and Eagle Road may get a lot of comment, but I'd much rather travel that because it moves than some of these other north-south corridors that you just said.
We have a great city, and I'm concerned about it being loved to death by excessive growth, and therefore, how do we balance growth with protecting our quality of life here? And having been involved in previous land use planning processes, what kind of, how are you going to determine the parameter or the strategic goals for your next plan?
Well, thank you for bringing us back to the comprehensive plan. It's a great question to end on, and I'm going to pass that on to Caleb.
So Dave, that's the $1 million question, and ultimately what we're gonna rely on is you, the input from the public. We have hired a team of consultants that does this throughout the nation to help us with this. This is not what I do. Again, we update our comprehensive plan about every 10 years. So it's not something that I'm into day to day, but again, we have hired some help to develop those policies and those strategic goals and balancing the right amount of growth, making it a nice place for the people that are already here, attracting more jobs and some more growth, but not making it too attractive, I think, is some of what you're getting at there. But that balance ultimately will be decided by the community, including the elected officials that will adopt and then implement this plan. So it is a tough question, and to answer that directly, I really can't. But the base of that is, again, the community members that participate in developing the plan that help us come up with the policies to get us to where we want to be in the coming years.
And actually, it's kind of a catch-22. The better we do our jobs and make this livable, a desirable place to live, that people love their parks, they feel safe, they have housing choices, the more people want to live here. So it is a catch-22. And we do hope, again, that the vision that we move forward on with the comprehensive plan is our community's vision, and that our community is engaged, involved, and does stay a part of this process clear through the adoption and even beyond that, to keep in front of the elected officials that we are all part of this team in building our community together. I know we've touched on a number of topics during the call. The website has a lot more information and opportunities for more involvement. You can go on our website and stay involved. Survey number 2 is open through the end of this month, so you have a couple more days to go online at meridiancity.org/compplan, and you can get in there, open or answer the questions to the survey. It only takes 5 minutes of your time or less, and you can sign up to continue to be part of this comprehensive plan. It was exciting for me to hear that 90% of the people on the call had not heard about the comprehensive plan, so this is a perfect time to get more people involved. So thank you for calling and participating in Meridian's first ever Meridian Town Hall or Telephone Town Hall. We hope you have a good evening. Thank you so much.